G'day amigos and welcome to the For Diego's Hot Topic. I'm Rodrigo Rodriguez and this is Carlos Alberto Diego, the great Carlos Alberto Diego. There was a great man as well, Johnny Warren, and of course now the Johnny Warren Foundation does some fabulous things in the world of football. And they've got their Greatest Australian Player Award announcement, and this is a fantastic thing for all the players that have been nominated. But Carlos, there's one player that's missing from that list. Yeah. The great Craig Johnston. Why isn't he on that list? And how can he not be on that list?
Rodrigo, I'm both bemused and flummoxed over the fact that someone like Craig Johnston, a player who probably is more celebrated in terms of winning awards and winning medals than any other Australian footballer, and I would actually maybe even talk about any other Australian sportsman. He'd be in the top handful of sportsmen with the amount of achievements he's had in the game at the top level. He played with probably the greatest team in the 80s in the world at the time in Liverpool. Not only won European Cups, but won First Division Championships there in England for fun when the league was a very, very strong league. I cannot believe, as an Australian, that he has not been nominated on the shortlist. Of course, the Johnny Warren Foundation will talk to you about the criteria.
Right, I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, the criteria. Of course, Craig Johnston, many, many years ago, and he's probably paying for this, when he was a kid, 19, 20 years old, interviewed on 60 Minutes saying that playing for Australia, when asked why he wasn't playing for Australia, he said playing for Australia was almost like surfing for England. A lot of people...
Great line, by the way.
Yeah, great line, but a line that he has regretted ever since, and he's explained away time and time again about his circumstances at the time and what led him to say that. But I think in many ways... the football public or the football fraternity here in Australia, or the people who have a say, have not forgotten that, and they've come up with a criteria where, you know, if you're not born in Australia or not played for Australia, you can't be nominated as one of Australia's greatest players. But unfortunately, with Craig, he's Australian.
But we've interviewed Craig Johnston a lot of time. He's a friend of the Diegos, but you know, there's no bias here. I mean, the guy is a legend of Australian football. The feeling that he talks about his country and football in this country, and you know, the passion that he talks about other players that have gone overseas. This guy is an Australian legend, and for him not to be on this list is an unbelievable. You know, it's an oversight.
It's the elephant in the room, Rodrigo. I mean, you go to this awards night, and it's a huge elephant. I'm not talking about you.
Yeah, right. I was going to say
it's an elephant in the room in that you go to this awards night, and I love you know, the Johnny Warren Foundation. We've done some great work with them over the years, and we love them. But you're going to be going to that awards night, and you know, the elephant in the room for me is, you know, there's not going to be any mention of Craig Johnston. It's not that he hasn't been, you know, recognised in the past. The PFA, Professional Football of Australia, not so long ago, awarded him the Alex Tobe Medal for one of the greatest players ever to come out of Australia. Joe Marsden was a winner, and also Mark Viduka. There've only been 3 winners, Rodrigo, and absolutely unbelievable achievement. And on that night, Rodrigo, they had a video montage of all the current Australian players: Harry Kewell, Craig Moore, all the current great players of this golden generation, basically saying on film how it was Craig Johnston that inspired them to go on to be the players they are overseas. How can we ignore that in any way, shape or form? I don't care what the criteria is. When they set down the criteria, he had to be Australian, the player, and had to play for Socceroos. They would have known. They would have known that Craig Johnston doesn't fall into either of those categories. So how can we not celebrate this guy?
Well, we're celebrating him, and we're not ignoring him, Carlos. So sadly, he's not going to be a recipient or even a nominee for the Johnny Warren Foundation. But that's the way. But
Rodrigo, just really, but do you think it's something that's malicious, something that's deliberate here? Because for me, it's the first thing that came to mind when they released the short list of names. Is it the Australian football public or the people in the media or whoever set up this criteria? Are they being petty here? Reaching back deep into the... I mean, Craig Johnston's around 50 years old now. He said those things when he was 19. He spent most of his life since then talking about the circumstances in which he said them, and he regrets them.
Oh, look, if it is petty, because that's petty... because he has contributed to, you know, the psyche of this game. I mean, is there an issue between Craig Johnston?
Well, but it's got to be beyond.
No,
I mean, the criteria is not being a nice guy and being a friend of people.
No, I don't subscribe to that.
Australian and one of the best players in the world. One of the best players we've ever produced. There's no question. People around the world know Craig Johnston as an Australian man, Australian footballer.
That's right.
He doesn't go around the world saying he's not an Australian footballer. Of course, he played once or a couple of times for the England under-21 side. He could have played for 4 different countries: South Africa, Scotland, I think Ireland, England, and Australia. The circumstances of him not playing for Australia, they're well documented. He has come out on record a number of times talking about how he's regretted that whole decision. He once told me that there's not one day of his life he's not reminded that he didn't play for Australia. He doesn't regret that. So for him not to be nominated, for me, I think it's an outrage, to tell you the truth. And I don't know who came up with the criteria. This is no reflection on the Johnny Warren Foundation. Love what they do, but I think they've got this one wrong. And I think it's almost that this award has lost a bit of credibility in my eyes because of it.
Well, we won't even then talk about, Carlos, who you think will win.
Well, I'm not. To tell you the truth, I just think it's tainted now. Yeah. I really don't want to invest my emotions in that, because I think there's some great players out there, and they want to be up against every other great player. And Craig Johnston would have been a player that they would have wanted to go up against. If the player that wins it has been inspired by Craig Johnston, maybe it's a bit of a hollow feeling if they end up winning it.
Well, fair enough. We'll leave the hot topic on that. I'm Rodrigo Rodriguez, and this is Carlos Alberto Diego. Until next time, ole!